Welcome back into the Rowdy Studio. I'm Stephen Levine. This is Tom Vandervoort. Bristol, baby. The night race at Bristol doesn't get much better than that.
And you know, everything old is new again. They ground off the top groove of the racetrack. I think it's going to be an interesting event simply because of a couple factors. Number one, you got a great wild card race coming in, and a couple guys that are in this wild card race that can run well and win here. Number two, you do have an unknown of this racetrack having lost its top groove, probably being a little tighter, which in theory should lead to more wrecks, right? But it also makes track position more important than maybe it's been the last few years.
But we did see in the truck race there were 81 straight laps without a caution, and Timothy Peters led
wire to wire.
Wire to wire.
And that's the thing I think you have to remember. Track position is going to be more important than it has been. So, you know, there's two sides to every coin, my friend.
The saving grace, as you mentioned, is that maybe Kyle Busch, Carl Edwards will get a little aggressive because they both need a win to get into the chase.
And Marcus Ambrose is a guy, I know I've mentioned him some this week, that could get aggressive because I think this is his best chance to pick up a second win. He's comfortable being aggressive.
Let's just remind the people what we're talking about. Remember a couple of years ago, in 2007, Bristol added progressive banking, and what they've done is they've taken that top groove away a little bit, grounded down, so it's more of a shallow angle from top to bottom, more of a constant angle. Not quite constant, but more constant.
And when you talk about racing grooves, it's just how many fast ways are there around the track. And if you have a one groove track, there's only one fast way around.
We think there's probably a 1.5 groove.
Maybe even a second groove will get worked in during the race. So what that means is if there's only one fast way around, then you kind of have to be there. And if somebody else is there, then you kind of have to move them out of the way if they're not willing to move out of the way. And so that's the dynamic we used to see at Bristol all the time is, you know, guys were either in danger of getting lapped or trying to get to the front at the end of the race, and they'd start feeling very anxious and have no choice but to move the guy in front of them out of the way if they felt that he was slower. So we're wondering if we're going to see that dynamic again at Bristol. I think we'll see it somewhat. But the flip side of it is track position is now more important. You remember way back in 2001 when Elliott Sadler won, I guess it was the spring race here, and he stayed out on tires and kept track position and won the thing at the end of the race by doing that. That was back for the Wood brothers.
And if it is harder to pass, then taking 2 tires instead of 4 or taking no tires is not as big of a risk because, you know, nobody's going to be able to take advantage of their fresher rubber to the extent they would have with multiple grooves.
Exactly. Now, and you think about what we've seen here the last couple of years, you wonder, okay, Brad Keselowski's won the last 2 races here. How good is he going to be on this surface? We saw him gain pit road a little. We know guys have been working on trying to figure out the timing lines on pit road to gain track.
Well, they seem to have addressed that.
They have addressed that, but I think, you know, what happens in the pits is going to be even more critical now because track position will be more important. So there are a lot of ramifications of taking away that top group beyond just, oh, maybe we'll see more action, maybe we'll see more wrecks.
Let's talk drivers a little bit. You mentioned Brad Keselowski, and we'll start with him. He is the only driver running all 3 races this weekend, the truck race, which he already ran, the nationwide race, and the cup race. Now, given that he has won the past 2 Bristol races and seems to be the latest driver in a long line of drivers to sort of get this track dialed in. So the fact that Keselowski has figured this track out and that he's going to have more track time on the new surface than anybody else, it does give him, I think, an advantage. Maybe not a huge advantage, but, and I'm going to be talking to him on Saturday, so I'm going to be asking him about this.
Well, good for you. I think it does give him a little bit of an advantage. And, you know, a lot's going to depend on how well he qualifies and where he starts. But don't forget, even as we talk about this wild card race, a guy like Brad Keselowski who has multiple wins, the more wins you get, the closer you are to leading the series when the chase starts. So that's a pretty big incentive as well for these guys who maybe have already locked up their chase position.
Right. Now, of course, talking about the chase, Kyle Busch needs a win to secure his place in the chase. Carl Edwards desperately needs a win.
And he can win here.
He's won twice here.
Yeah.
Both of those guys are capable of winning at this track. And, you know, Jeff Gordon doesn't seem as likely to win, but he has won 5 times at Bristol in his career.
It's been a while. I think for Jeff Gordon, the real story is going to come in qualifying. Because Jeff Gordon has in the past qualified very well here, won the pole multiple times. If he comes out and wins the pole or sits on the front row or in the first couple rows, then I think maybe you're looking at a guy with a good chance to win the race. So I think qualifying is really important for the 24 car.
All right, who do you like?
You know, when I think about this race and I think it all the way through, and I think I like Kyle Busch to bounce back and figure this new joint out and take the win.
All right. Now, we talked to Bob Pockrass.
You going with Keselowski?
Well, I'm going to go with Keselowski, but I did want to mention that Bob Pockrass had a really interesting pick. He's going with Martin Truex Jr., which is a little bit of a reach, but a really interesting one, and I think there's some merit.
Martin Truex has run well here, and he runs well at Dover. He got his only Cup win at Dover, and that also is sort of a concrete track, big Bristol. So that's an interesting pick right there, and he's been running better lately.
Indeed. All right, that's Tom. I'm Steven. Thanks for watching.